Hi, I'm Ellis, this old shop, and we're here to talk about this machine here. It's the 25-inch wide belt sander. That's actually water. We just put it in these bottles. I did drink the bottle, and I'll drink another one as soon as I can. Love this stuff. But this is just water. Can't get high while I'm operating here. What is this? The first thing, do not operate while under drugs, alcohol, or medication. So, here you go. This is the Jet 25-inch belt sander. When I start this, and usually when I run the machine, I take off this front gig here. And sometimes easier. Because I want to be able to see the belt in the machine as I'm running it. First off, let's just run the basic thing was we have this on Craigslist. We're asking $4,000 for it, the converter system, and the dust collector system. So this is basically to show you that it all does work. So first here, we'll do this and just get this out of the way. It's a nice old style system. That's a big 2-horse motor with a, the double thing collector, double the kind. It's got a hose that goes up into the top of the machine to extract the dust. I guess nowadays, this bottom bag, we also have a couple more bags. We got like 4 bags. But now, they have these ones like this that are clear. They're a clear garbage bag. So basically, when you see them, you can either go dump it on your mulch pile, or you can, bag it up and go wherever you want to go with it. Okay. Here's the machine. So this machine is probably about 20 years old. It really doesn't have that many miles or hours on it because the people that bought it for quite a bit of money from Olson's, I believe it came out of, Olson's Tools, they didn't really know how to run it. It has a lot of kill switches on it, several in different areas. And so when I came upon the machine, I was building guitars. I was a guitar builder, luthier. And so I got the machine running and all dialed in, and I used it for about 3 or 4 years and made a bunch of guitars. I still have stacks of Koa that are all milled up, guitar grade wood for it. So we're kind of not really all using the machine anymore. I made this binding, this Koa binding. I did make it on the machine, and this pick guard. This pick guard was the same piece of Koa. We got this as a log, so we definitely I made everything or milled everything down on this machine here. It's a nice pick guard. And this was a really nice piece of Koa. We found it as a log. Okay? So that's stuff we've done with it. I guess the biggest concern here that I got to cover is the power on this machine. This machine it's intended for 3-phase, which means 3 legs of 110. 2 legs of 110 is 220. So 220 is your stove and your dryer, and usually those run off of like about 20 amp breakers. I currently have this thing hooked into the dryer breaker at 20 amps. So I can turn it on and I can show you the functions. The conveyor works and the up and down of the table works, but I can't run it under a load at that low amperage. If there's any way that you can get 3-phase for this machine, then that's what you want to do it. If all you have is 220, which every house has 220, I believe, for a stove and a dryer, etc. And those sometimes go anywhere from 20 to 50 to whatever. That's what this box is right here. You have 220 goes into this box, and it comes out enough to light this thing off and make it run on a 3-phase. These boxes cost a couple $100, but if you'll look up in here, if you can get a shot of this, these are these huge starting capacitors that kick the machine. Now, if you had 3-phase, you just come right in here with this big 3-phase wiring, and boom, the machine's going. But this is what the converter looks like. This is the converter box, the little magic box. And basically what you're doing is you're fooling the machine. You're lying to it. You're trying to get more for less. I had to throw that in. It's a very humanistic, seems to be the way of the human world. So if you're going to run it off this, you need 100 amps and some big wire. You need 100 amps and big wire. You know, do yourself a favor. And I mean, I think every house coming in from the pole has 100 amps. And you just go to that box, get a special 100 amp breaker with some big wire. To this, we have it right to here. You see, this is 220 right here. You see 2 wires in with the ground right there. See? And then it'll Wing Chun. That's what I ran it off of for years. But right now it will not, you know, sand with 20 amps. That's just, you're just being real chintzy with the machine. Okay. One thing that's real nice about this machine is it's all old style breakers. There's no computer stuff in here. The new Grizzly stuff, the comparable Grizzly machine to this, a 24-inch wide belt sander, has all the exact same specs. It was made in Taiwan, where this jet was made. Chances are at the exact same factory. It's the exact same, except this is an older model. But they're digital. And so that means under here they have digital readout stuff. And several guys at lumberjocks.com commented on it not being that accurate. It's funny because the guy says, I've made 1,200 cutting boards. And he must make nice cutting boards. Some cutting boards can be fairly expensive, probably. You know, those big, thick ones like that, laminated on end. They could probably, but I was kind of like going, he was off, you know, it was off 1,000th on my cutting board. And I plan on making twice that many this year. So that's what he's doing, kind of a little food for thought there. Comparable thing is $8,000. Grizzly wants $8,000 for this, and that's not with anything. That's plus shipping is what it is. Okay, and they do weigh 1,500 pounds. So the weight on this machine is 1,500 pounds. If you look in here, it's a lot of heavy metal. There's a lot of heavy metal in here. And yeah. Ooh, man, I almost put my finger in that box. Yeah, a lot of 1/2-inch plate. This is 1/2-inch. The table alone is massive. When we go around and we look at the gear drive on it, it's just massive cast, which is great. Okay, here's the control box. It's simple. Hook it up, and it all goes. And they have breakers in them. I have tripped a couple breakers. One of the things that's really nice about this amp gauge is extremely accurate. As it's running, it'll tell you how many amps it's drawing, but also as you put it under a load, it'll kind of show you how much. So this machine just pulls off maybe a 30-second at a time. This is not like a heavy-duty planer or something like that. It's a finishing, well, if you get a heavy-duty grit sandpaper, it could probably tear some pretty good stuff down if that's what you wanted it for. But I used it for finishing, you know, finish work on other materials. it's definitely, it really shines with koa, because koa is a very difficult wood, curly koa, and it's very expensive. So you don't want to run it through a planer and then have it rip out a 1/4 inch chunks of curly grain. That's just like, oh, it's bad. And so this thing really, really shines on finishing curly woods. You know, like maples. Maple, it's not that difficult. Koa, definitely. I have some koa laying around that got planed in it, and it has huge chunks ripped out of it. Okay, so for the finishing, I use it at very, very light increments. But anyways, depending on how much power you're feeding it and what kind of material running through it, it'll show up on this amp gauge of how much juice you're messing around with it. Okay, it's a pneumatic. It runs off air. So down here, it has some partial air related systems. I said it doesn't run off air. That'd be pretty nice. But here, and it runs off 75 psi in here. This wires to a kill switch. But so when you look at it, this table, it's got this big hydraulic or air-powered pneumatic ram that when I power the machine over, watch it, it jumped it out right here. There's a roller up here. It had some system to where it was auto-tracking this belt. And this belt, very important, and it's very heavy duty. It's a little bit discolored after 20 years, and but it's still very good. So the pneumatics under here, I never messed with this personally. It has guides and holes and a bunch of things if you wanted to tweak it. I never did because the belt goes straight, you know, and even now you could, I never really figured that out. We have a manual. Comes with a toolbox and a manual. And here's a big parts thing on it. And it has all kinds of specs on everything and how you set it up and what you're supposed to do. So there's the manual and a little toolbox up here. Okay, we've got that powered. Now I'm going to light it off. The machine, I refer to it always as the machine. It should have a name, but has a lot of kill switches in it. This bar right here is a kill switch. And I don't know if you can see it, but this kill switch is bent because someone somewhere along the line had this down and jammed something in it. And they didn't realize that, oh, that's a kill switch. When I first found the machine, it took me a little bit to go around the machine and go, oh, well, the thing is not going to run if that's in. Well, this was kind of jammed over and it was crimped this way, and so the machine basically would never start. So since I left this machine 4 or 5 years ago, somebody jammed this thing down, and so lucky us, the machine hasn't been run and everything is really still good on it. All the bearings are great. I used to grease all the bearings and every moving part on this all the time. So it has these kill switches right here. It also has these 2 kill switches right here. And that's the belt rides in between them. And if the belt ever runs out of there, it won't run. And you can see on this side, you know, later if you come and look at the machine, that it's ridden out on this side and it's killed. And that is because of this. It runs with these electric eyes. Here, bring the camera up here, if you can. If you may, it runs there's an electric eye here, and there's another one on the back side. You got to keep these aligned, and as you go like that, so when the belt tries to ride off, boom, it kicks it, and the belt will slide back there. And then when it goes a little bit out of there, you see how that goes? So while the belt's going like this, It's going to be shifting back and forth. There's controls on the side here. She can follow me kind of slowly with the camera. Here. This gizmo controls the rate, the distance of how that's going to go, and it has these two knobs here that, here, I'll open them up all the way, and then you should stay right there and watch this. So you see, that's, you don't want that, so you close these down, right? This is kind of a little demo, and you back these off, but so you want it smooth like that, you know, and you can do that on several items while she's up here. Here, come on over here. And if you can see the roller in here, watch. This is, once you put the belt on it, that tensions it up. So these are all all of the pneumatic principles of the machine. Here it goes down, and then you can get the belt off of it, and that tensions the belt. Here, you can come over to this side, and I'll show you this right quick. Later on, we'll stick a belt on it. But this goes here. It's kind of the belt guard. But for some reason, these machines demand a higher price. These are the that have the power roller right here. They've got another roller right here, and in the middle, this is a planting, which is this bar in between them, and it's got this graphite coating like that. And I just put a brand new graphite pad on this. But anyways, here's how it runs, and this is the, I guess, tension and loose. That's what T and L mean, right? Tension and loose. This backside panel can be opened too. Here, if she can get in here, you can see, maybe she can get a shot in there of the power roller. And down here, this is an adjustment thing. While she's got the camera over here, I'm going to light this off. We're going to do this. I always have a hard time with it because I'm still trying to milk this on 20 amps. But as I do it, because I want you to see this right here. This thing, it's got a handle. So this is the manual crank. And I guess it says one turn is 0.185. So that's not very much. That's like micro. But I think I had taken this handle off because if anyone's standing over there, it's a real... Here, I'm going to light it off here. Here, let's see if it'll go. Okay, the machine's running. That power roller is running right there. You see? Right? The power roller. And that would be running the belt. But, of course, if the belt's running right now, I couldn't even talk. It's pretty loud. But watch this handle. So, this is the table up and down. See that? That's very peligro dangeroso. If anyone's standing jerking around on the side of this, you know, and that thing goes off, it could really hurt them. So I had taken this off. And sometimes with this gauge, I just want to do a little micro shift. So the table up and down is for big movements, you know, because you don't want to crank this 100-pound table, right? And it has millimeters and inches. But yeah, if you get that little bugger right there, it sure hurt if it hits you. I'm dropping the table down. I'm not sure that this is kind of making noise because that cover isn't bolted on. We're just going to leave it like that. Okay, the machine's running. I'm going to go ahead and run the conveyor belt right now. So feeding on. So that's the feed. This is pretty nice. There's a bunch of warning pictures, you know, saying don't get your hand under here, and this is pretty nice because it's level right here. Come around to this side, In here, this is the triple belts on the, that's a 10 horse. So that's the 10 horse motor down there running this. But look at right here. So this is the conveyor belt. This is really kind of unbelievable. This is a huge, like an automotive differential. And this is the big two-phase, I think it's probably a 2-horse motor. She'll come back here, and if you can notice what this was made out of, all this is huge industrial half-inch plate. This has a speed control on it. I'm gonna go on out of here. This is the back side of the machine, but she can show you. You can't see it, but there's a speed control for the belt. Okay, here, watch this. See if we can zoom in on this amp thing. Right? Now, I'm going to push the table up. Boom. Well, that wasn't too much. The initial surge jumps these things up, and then it comes down to 20. So this thing tells you how much power everything's going down on this. I'm going to kill the feed table. So what is that? That was like, so now it's down to 15. With the feed table on, it's up a little bit higher. So that's down. Okay, I'm going to do this hopefully a couple times. But now, if this roller, or if this belt, when it's shifting, if it comes out of this track, right here, come on. You see this? If it goes over, right like that, if this isn't lined up, it'll shut the machine off. You notice you still got power at the power indicator here. But see, these are a lot of kill switches all over. The advantage was that when I found this, nobody had figured out these kill switches. That, I don't know why not or why. So nobody had run the machine. And then when I left, I just left and I don't think anybody knew about the kill switches. These are pretty obvious up here, but this one right here, and there's another kill switch in the back, and actually this kill switch was just pinched like this. When somebody hit it with something, it pinched it, and then when the switcher went in, so that didn't start, that tripped a breaker. You see that? So I don't mind showing it to you because that's the big thing. This thing needs electricity. I've got this hooked on a I believe it's almost a 50-foot piece of 220 wire going to a dryer hookup next door to run this. But yeah. Well, I think that should be kind of enough information. Everything does work, but it just needs power, and I rent the shop here, and I don't want to hassle with dragging in a bunch of power. The electricity is expensive. It would cost me a few $100 to plumb in some heavy duty, which I might borderline do it. I don't really care for the machine. I've had it. It's been a great machine, but it'd be nice if it could find a new home, in some place. And I did lots and lots on this. And some guy that's looking at it, he was making boat models. This thing can produce and knock out beautiful pieces of finished thin wood. Just, I could have never made guitars without it, but now I have a lot of guitars. Okay? Okay. Oh, wait a second. Here, you still there? Hang on to that. This is one I thought I'd show off that we made. And actually, I always show off this back of Curly Maple. Of course, it was run through on this machine. All this wood was. And, yeah, even the headstock veneer and this piece of maple, definitely the maple sides. But so this beautiful wood here, I got at Home Depot. We actually found this curly maple. It was a long time ago. It was on a board about this wide, you know, and so we book matched it, run it through machine, and we were actually able to get these sides out of it. And so, but we did find it at Home Depot. The wood is very nice. Okay, well, I think that'll go. If there's any questions about the machine, you know, the bottom line is it needs a lot of power. It needs power, it needs love. Oh, wait a second. Sorry, it needs a belt. We'll do this real quick. I'm not going to light it off, but I'll stick this belt on it. It's pretty easy. Dang. So that's the compressor kicking on. Here, I stick this thing back in here, and it goes right there. So that's about as easy as it is to change a belt. They're not hard. And then you put that tension on it. It's pretty, you know, tight as a drum there. And that adds. There's no way I could ever kick this off. I don't believe with my with my 20 amps on this little dryer thing. So yeah.
We tripped the breaker.
Pardon?
We tripped the breaker.
Yeah, we tripped the breaker. And that's what you don't want to do. You want to make sure you get plenty of juice for this little baby. Okay, but till next time, adios.